today's webinar is going to be Fall Madly in Love with 10 Xamarin Charts. So we know we've got a lot of Xamarin fans out there, and we hope that you'll see something you like. So my name is Whitney Hill, and I'm the Video Marketing Specialist here at Syncfusion, and I'll be your moderator today. The webinar will be presented by Chad Church, who is our Microsoft Certified Solution Developer and Product Manager here at Syncfusion. So I know everyone's really excited to learn more about Xamarin Charts today, but I'd like to briefly tell you about Syncfusion before we begin. We deliver an extensive range of more than 800 web, mobile, and desktop controls, and also empower businesses to get the most out of their data with our enterprise solutions for data processing and visualization. So that'll be your big data platform, data integration platform, dashboard platform. We've got quite a few good things out there. We've been in business for over 15 years now. And while our customers include large financial institutions, Fortune 100 companies, and global IT consultancies, we also work with a lot of small businesses and independent developers. Nearly 1 million users from 125 countries trust Syncfusion in their development process, and we're so honored by that. So now that you know a bit more about us, I'll go ahead and hand over to Chad to get started. Chad, over to you.
Hey, Whitney. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's always a great intro and pleasure to speak with you. And let's see. Everybody can see my screen now. And Fall Madly in Love with 10 Xamarin Charts. The idea for this webinar was to show some user questions customers that have been having about our charts over the past quarter or so. Xamarin Charts have been pretty popular since they first came out, and they really have spiked in the past 6 or 8 months. And we thought we'd go through and cull through all of our questions to our developers that customers have had and put together a little sample, a little talk going through all those questions, all those concerns. And we also took that and put into a top 10 most popular charts based upon user questions, user feedbacks. Now this sample, every bit of code I'm going to talk about in this sample actually came from a user request. So somebody asked how to do everything I'm going to talk about here as we go through our samples. Okay, and just to get started, here is number 10, the radar chart. Radar chart it's very cool, it's neat, and it is used a lot to show information like this. I set up here, this is a personality type chart that we put together, I put together, and according to this, I'm adventurous and I don't want to talk to anybody. Now, how we actually put this chart together is here in the code, and this is the radar chart. So this is a sample. Welcome to our Xamarin sample here. And just a kind of idea, most all of these samples I'm about to show you are in XAML. It's all XAML based. There's one sample that is not. It's entirely C# for those of you who want to stay in the C# realm, and I speak to people all the time, and there's a lot of people that don't want to jump into XAML yet, and that's fine. We support you. We support you with that, and I'll show you a sample later on exactly how we can support you with that. Now this is XAML, so let's go through. You're going to set up a chart. Chart title is here. Let's put this sample here on the side so we can kind of see what we're doing here. And I just have some text set up for a title. Then I have a series defined. I have 3 series here, and the order of the series is is what you see here on the screen. The draw type is area or line. That's displayed here in the sample. Now, if you want a legend to appear on our charts, you have to actually make a legend. We do this on purpose. Some charts I don't want a legend, so I don't create one. Others I have here, and from this legend you have options that you can do with it, and I'll show you a couple of those options later on as we go. So this is a radar chart. Welcome to the radar chart. Range area charts. This is another common request. I see this mostly when customers want to show regional data, data on seasons. You have your high and your low. In this case, it's a pricing model, high and low price. A couple interesting things about this chart is the colors. So I have set this up. The entire chart background is this color here. I used to call it orange. I was told that's not quite right, so my man eyes are steering me wrong. But you have colors here. The entire chart's a background color, and I have defined colors for all of the lines, the title, and all that. The stroke color here is green. So this green line is the actual stroke color for the series itself. The stroke color here is the green, and it's set up this way. There is a tooltip, so the default tooltip for a chart will look just like this. And let me take the time now to talk about this particular sample and what we have going on here. I kind of jumped into this. This is the sample set up to showcase the top 10 requests from our customers. And looking at charts and all, there's a lot of information, but it can be fairly concise. I wanted to make a chart that handled some other things. So all the charts you see here, the data behind these are all going to be in, I'm setting my item sources in the code behind. Generally, generally I am. And this is set up to use SQLite database. So there are models created. There's a range of models here. The models are fairly simplistic. There's not much going on in them, but it's enough that you can get an idea what to do. And there's a database. So this is my database here. It's defined. And it's set up. I like putting regions on things because it makes sense to me. The way this is, again, we're talking to SQLite, so we're going to be creating a database where we're talking to it directly. The iFile helper in our PCL library, our portable class library, the file helper class here is simply a delegate. It's an interface. So the way it works is you can interact with this at the PCL level for your connections, and on each device, it's actually fleshed out. So we have information here where we're actually talking to the SQLite objects. We're creating a database, and the path for that database is dependent upon the device. So you should be able to go through here and get a database set up on your system, on your phone or your tablet, whatever you wish, and have it up and running in minimal effort. Now you will be in charge. You will have to come back and add whatever. This is just creating tables and dropping tables. That's really all we're doing. But you'll want to come in here and do something else. You'll want to do commits or deletes or updates or whatever it is you want to do. This is all the work that you'll be setting up to do on that database. And that's the point to this, just to kind of give you an overview of how you can use SQLite to store data locally and go from, and how you can set that up, how that looks in an actual application to be up and running. And throughout my application here, I am using this database for all my data, and I'm using my models for information. Not everything, but most everything is actually defined that way. And, okay, so let's go back to the range area chart here. And this is the range area chart, fairly straightforward. A couple things I do need to note here. By default, the chart is going to want to scale everything to the maximum and minimum points in an actual series. You can put some offsets to that if you want to show information. To get this particular look, I had to actually come in and define a min and max value for my y-axis. And that's how this was achieved. Okay. And number 7, let's move on to number 7 here. And Jerry, and number 7 is our pyramid charts. If you need to show any information to the ancient Egyptians, we have a chart for you. Pyramid charts is here. This is how it looks. Now, a couple things about the pyramid chart. I made a rainbow because I'm a developer and I thought it was cool and fun and not that hard to do. And this is actually a big case in point why I'm not a designer. Now the pyramid chart has a couple options, and I'm actually going to make a change here live. and we'll see how this works out for me. Pyramid mode, linear. If you set it as linear, then the actual slices of each segment, the height is going to be based upon the value if you let it be linear. If you change this, I'm going to make a small change to be surface. Make it to be surface, then the surface area of each section is going to be based upon the value of that particular data point. And while I'm deploying, let's go down and let's look at how I have this set up. So I have set up the chart color model. Now this is how you'll set it up for your pyramid series, your pie series, your donut series. Set it up this way, and I have some custom colors that I've defined. These values here are actually in my view model. And I don't use the view model a whole lot, but I do use it because it is common. People do use it. Here's my view model, and actually this is the colors that I'm using. Roy G. Biv, this, I was calling this orange. Now it's the color named this. So I made a little rainbow here, and that rainbow appears on my chart. And let's see if my deploy worked. If it did, the pie chart, the pyramid chart should change, and the values are now, the surface area is based upon the actual value of that particular point. So it does work. This is a live running sample, and that's always exciting. Okay. Let's go look at number 7, stacked area charts. So the question here is they wanted to control what color went where, and that's going to be with your series. So this is a stacked area chart, and Charlie Brown has made his way to this one from the previous one. He likes to hang around, I guess. Stacked area chart is going to be over here, and I'm closing these windows as I step through something. Stacked area chart is here. Important thing about this sample is the order of the series. So the olive, the orange, and the black shows up this way as I make the olive, orange, and black. So from top to bottom, that's the order that it's going to be on your chart. Okay. Now, okay. Okay, that's the important things with that. So let's go on and let's look at the next chart on our list here, chart number 6, the 100% stacked column. The idea was how to show information, how to show change over time. And for this particular case, we want to know the total price, what was a change over time. So the orange section you see here in the middle became a larger percentage of the total sales as time went on. So from this, your customers can sit and look at this, or your business people can look at this and decide what is going on with orange, what do I need to do with black and green, what's going on with this. So that's the idea behind the stacked column chart. And the information here is, yes, and that's it. It's all, other than the fact that you can do it, it's a 100% stacked column is the actual chart type. Stacking column 100 series. And we're doing information, and this is what's set up. Tooltips are enabled. If you don't enable tooltip, then you won't have that appear when you touch the screen. The next interesting chart is our multiple axes. Now the axes in Syncfusion charts is a collection, so you can have as many axes as you have series. We don't limit you based on that. You can choose to clutter up your screen as much as you like. We typically have 2 axes. Sometimes we show 3 or more. The axis showed this way. Now this particular axis is opposed. You don't have to make it opposed. It can be behind the other axis. You can define that as you wish. And let's take a look at the code here and see how exactly that's set up. Here's your multiple axes. Multiple axes. So we have a primary, we have our secondary. Those always exist. You do need to have these here. And primary is usually the X. It's always the X. Secondary is a Y. And then on top of that, we have a column series and we have a spline series. So if you notice here that you can customize a chart by the series value. So you don't have a chart that is actually of a particular type. The chart is fairly, the chart's just a container. And the series actually draw the picture on the screen. And in this case, we have the spline series actually has its own y-axis. And it's set up this way. It's a numerical axis, it's a title, it's here, and it is opposed. So opposed position is true. So that puts it up over here. And that's the idea behind multiple axes. Again, we don't limit how many you can do. We let you put as many as you like on your screen. Now, next is our next popular in terms of request was our candle chart. There's a couple things going on with the candle chart. This is a financial analysis chart, typically stock type data, where you're going to have your highs, your lows. In this case, it needs to be transposed, and it's going to show this way, sideways instead of vertical. So a candle chart is here. A couple things, well, let's go here. We do have, is transposed is the idea behind it. So that is simply going to take the chart and make it go the opposite way, whether it's horizontal versus vertical is transposed. That's all you have to do. Bull fill and bear fill. This will fill the actual candle based upon whether it was based on the previous day's open and close. And you can change these colors to be whatever matters to you, whatever makes sense to your customers and your company. Feel free to change all this. But this is what you get when you look at this chart here. You have your green and your red, your bull and your bear. We also have the ability to save the chart to an image. So this is built in. Let's take a look at the actual code for that candle series. So it's going to be a background event, background function. So here, and I took the code out of this. So it is a background code, and I'll show you that in just a minute later on. But you can save this to an image. Okay. And next on our list is the column chart. Column chart, everybody needs a column chart for something. Yes, everybody needs a column chart for something. This particular column chart is actually going to show a custom data template. So the data marker here across the top. This is a marker. Every series has a data marker that can be shown. And you can customize the look and feel of that data marker. So let's step in here and take a look at how that's set up. And here is our data marker set up this way. We actually have a label template. So this is one of the beauties of using Xamarin, using XAML rather. You have the concept of a data template. So for this chart data marker, the label template for that chart data marker is going to be up here, and this is it here. So this label template, whatever's inside this data template object here is going to be shown above that label. And that's the idea for this, okay? I also have this set up. I also have this set up on a Mac. One of the big questions here is, well, one of the elephants in the room, so to speak, is that this is a Xamarin app, so iOS should be included. And here's my Android app, which I've been running Android all day on a Samsung Galaxy. Here's the actual Samsung Galaxy device. But what about the iOS app? So let's take a look now at iOS. This is Chad's Mac Mini. It's over here. I'm not doing much with it. I just have one sample being run because it's a bit underpowered at the moment, and it's really only good for doing the one sample. But you can see this is the exact same sample that I have set up. It's running in Xamarin iOS on my Mac, and it's fully customizable. You can work with it. We expect you to use this on a Mac as well. So this project that you can download when this video is ready, you can also download on your Xamarin, have a play with it there, see how it works actually on your Mac environment. So it is Mac ready. That's kind of a thing of Xamarin. Okay. And then here's the iOS version of that same chart. A couple things to point out about this chart is the series. We actually have this set up. Okay. We actually have this set up, the chart to be we have a maximum set up on the chart. So this secondary axis has a maximum value of 90. Okay. And that's the idea for it. Let's see. Moving on to number 3. And our number 2 chart is our donut. Donut's very popular. Now the big difference between a donut and a pie is that a donut has this hole in the middle. And the hole can be as big as you like if the coefficient value. But without the hole it becomes a pie. The hole it becomes a donut. Other than that, the properties are about the same. They are the same actually. And here's a donut chart. And again, I've customized the look and feel, the interface. I wanted to do just red, blue, green color combo, and you can see that the chart will just recycle these colors. It'll just go through the list over and over again based upon whatever the colors are and how many slices there are in that data set. Now, the donut series. Here's the donut series. We have set up a couple things with this. The chart is set up. We have the options, fill and expand. This is to let the chart, either chart can be a fixed width, you can request a width, you can tell it to fill and expand based on whatever the container is. That's the most common, is to fill and expand. And we have a relative layout. This is inside a relative layout control. It's a XAML thing. And it's in here because we want to put that little 0 value, that number value. So if you look at the sample, we have 3,300. This number is in the middle of the pie chart. So whether you want to put a label here, a picture, a graphic, a GIF, or anything, you can put this in here with a relative layout. It'll live inside this. Now, you will want to make sure that you keep the donut coefficient greater than 0. If it's 0, it's a pie. If it's greater than that, it becomes a donut. That's going to depend upon how big the hole is in the middle. And this works, and this defines how big the actual donut is. The start angle and end angle, if this were not 0 and 360, then it would not be a complete donut. So 0 is straight in the middle, and then it goes around to the left, well, here. And then it goes around to, so this right here is just about the 0 point. And then you go up, the degrees increase as you go around until you get to 360. So this blue here is just about ends at 360. That's the idea for it. So you can change the all of that based on these values here. The explode radius is how far out does this slice explode when I touch it. And the connector type, do I have a line? Do I have a spline? And the legend icon is here on the bottom. Now this particular sample, I let the legend go ahead and scroll. You can define it a wrap, but I thought it was more fun to have a scroll here just to be a little bit different. Okay, and this is a diamond. You can change the diamond. You can let that be a template and customize the look and feel more to suit your needs as a business. Data market position outside extended means we're going to put these as far away as we can. The actual line here is going to be outside. It's going to be far away, so you have a little more. And this is typically used for busy pies and busy charts. But it's up to you, so you can customize it as you see fit. And again, the custom brushes here is in the view model. I just have a smaller set of colors that I'm using for that. So red, navy, and green. So just to kind of show that, go over all the issues here with our donut chart. Now, the top two charts Well, the number one chart, I have a couple flavors of this. The first, it's a spline. Spline is the most common chart. People ask most about our spline chart. And they ask about customizing the axes, customizing the layouts, the tooltips, all of that, customizing the legend here. And this chart is actually written entirely in C#. There's no XAML front end to it. Or here, let me actually show the sample first. Sample is here, and the sample setup, where we have here on the bottom, you see the legend, and I've customized the legend to be it's a checkbox, but the checkbox is showing an image. So as I check on it, as I change the image, as I click, I change the image. Now, a couple things to note here. The y-axis. As I change this, it will automatically refresh and resort so that you don't have that huge gap. If you don't want that to happen, then you define your minimum and maximum for the y-axis, where you define how high it wants to be. You define any of that, and you can change that action. But this is the idea behind this. Now, this touch event, again, is just changing that image. So let's go and see how that worked. Here is the, okay. Here is the actual sample. Here's the sample running live, and my phone has went sideways on me. Here we go. So here's the actual sample running, and here's the code for it. If we look at it, again, we're doing everything in the code behind. We're creating we're going to create some datas, creating a stack layout panel. We're creating a label. A chart is here. Again, stack layout. All this is done here in the code behind. So we do support you as you're going through this. The new series, it's a spline series. Again, one of these could have been column or something else if you wished. Dots, periods, bubbles, whatever you like here. It is visible on legend, so I want this to show up actually on the legend. And then here on my actual legend, so for every chart that's series on legend, we're giving it some information. We're telling it to do a checkbox. Okay, and then the checkbox source is going to be some image that's defined. And then we're doing a tap gesture. That's going to go through and make sure that we know that it's tapped. All this, and then here the actual tapped event, we're going to change it to be unchecked or checked. Now, a couple of things. All of these little images and such that we show up here are going to live actually on your device. So in Android, it's going to be here in the drawable folder. So under resources, drawable. And then we have checked, cloudy. There's another cloudy, different size, cloudy, rainy, warm, and warm. So there's a lot of all these are going to be shown in a sample in our sample basis. So this is how you'll use the actual these. You can change based upon what you want to show here, but that's the idea behind all of these. And for iOS, it'll be something similar. Okay, and then let's go back and take a look. And then here's a sample again, just showing how it works. Now, again, spline is the most common, and there's a trackball is very common as well. So this particular sample was set up to use a trackball and to put a custom template on that trackball. So you see, I'm actually holding my finger to the screen now, and as I move it back and forth, the trackball moves with my finger, and there's a custom template being displayed. So I have these pictures are being put up here, and there's only one point, so there's 3 different pictures, and here's my cloud, here's my sun, and here's my rain. So that's a very cool thing. People like that. And let's take a look at how this is set up. So here's a trackball template, and we've created a trackball behavior. Trackball template is here. So if you need this behaviors, then you define it. Otherwise, it doesn't appear. These behaviors are built in. There's a number of behaviors that you can choose. In the trackball label template, we're setting up this way, and then it is just this data template here. In this case, we want to put a picture on the screen, and we want to change the picture based upon the actual value, whatever this binding value is. We want to change the picture. So we have a converter class. The converter class is toward up here, we actually have a converter folder with a converter class. And this is my converter class. And I'm going to convert based upon the actual value. It's going to be warm selected, cloudy, or rainy. If, else if, and else. So this is how it's going to work. This is how you do the logic to actually change the picture that shows up based upon some numerical value. Okay. And this is a trackball template. Now these data templates, again, this is very cool, very fun. You can use this throughout the application, throughout our controls. Use that data template to customize the look and feel. And that's the end of the actual top 10, but there was still some questions that I didn't get fit into this top 10 list. So let's take a couple looks. Let's take a look, shall we? And I want to go to the axis customization. This is, well, let me pull up my actual, here we go, axis customization. So this is something people were very curious about and needed to know how to do. This is a chart, it's a line chart with 3 areas on it. And the way this chart works, again, it's a scrollable chart, so you see how it goes back and forth. Now watch the labels here at the bottom. See how they kind of move, how it's moving in and out? It's actually shifting as it gets closer, and then 10 appears. So 111 shows up, 110 disappears when it gets too close, and then 110 shows up again. So it's shifting and hiding. And that's the idea behind how this is set up. So this the question was how to do something like this actually on a chart. How do I handle it so when I scroll, the labels don't go off of the chart, outside the chart area, they don't get truncated, you don't see half of the label value because it's off the chart, it's invisible. And that was the big question. So let's go take a look at how we actually set all that up. Here's our axis customization. This is that exact sample I'll show on the screen. And let's pull the sample back up so we can see everything together. So it's just a weather report. Now, edge label drawing. This is where you're going to. This is where you determine what happens to those labels when they get to the edge. And you have a couple options. You have you can let them go to center. You can fit them so where they'll actually shrink. You can hide them as soon as they hit the edge. They'll hide, or you can have them shift. Shift goes to back and forth. Shift is what I had chosen. Inverse. So this is inversed. So meaning if you look at the sample, the dates are left and right. So I have 1-7 and then 110 is on the left. So it's inverse from what you would typically dates go left to right because, well, because they do. But we have this inverse. So it's going right to left is the actual increasing of the dates. Enable auto interval on zooming. So when I zoom in, it's going to automatically adjust the interval here at the bottom. Okay. Now zoom factor, zoom position, that is what actually defined how this appears on the screen. Zoom factor is going to be half the data, so I'm zooming in half. And my zoom position is going to be half. So these two values here, zoom factor, zoom position, they have to add up to 1. They add up to 1. In this case, I'm showing half the data and I'm showing the second half of the data. So I'm zoomed in, I'm showing half the data. So that's why when this sample started, and let's pull it back and start it again. I started at the end because I'm inversed. So I'm here at the end, I'm showing half the data and I'm showing the second half. I can scroll to see the first half. That's the idea behind all of this. Auto scrolling delta type. So as I'm changing this, I'm going with months. I do have a variety of options here, and you pick this based upon your data. So that's how this set up, and this really should have been days probably. But that's how you set this up and to get this all working exactly like that. And the date format, I have day, month, year, which is fairly common worldwide. Day, month, year. You can change this. You can put in whatever you want to put in here. It's your typical template information from there. Now another question people have had a lot is how do I actually customize the labels on the screen? So for example, I want to change my layout, I want to change my interval, I want to have control over exactly what's going to show up over here and how it shows up and when it shows up. And maybe you want to have control over how it looks on the bottom. So I want to show this twisted. I want to put an angle on this. I want to customize this. And that's another question people have. Now, about this sample, one other thing about this sample, before I jump into it, is this has the default functionality that's available in the legend is toggle visibility. So if I touch on a series that's visible here, it'll disappear. A couple things to note about this is the series must have a label defined in order for this to work. Now, let me finish that real quick and I'll come back. So here. And if you look in here, I actually have a label. So this label is what handles that event. On the touch event of that label, then the toggle event gets fired. If that label doesn't exist, then this can't happen. Okay, you make the whole thing go away, and somebody will be very confused. Okay, now, and that's the toggle series visibility here as part of the legend. It's simply an option. You say yes or no, true, false, and you're often going from there. Now, couple things we're setting up here. Let's pull this up so we can see what we're doing. This is my actual sample. Okay. This is my sample and here's my code for it. So this y-axis, I wanted to customize where it started. So the minimum is going to be 10 and the interval is going to be 5.5. So I'm going to put points here. The minimum is 10, the first point is 11. Because that's the first point after 10, and then it adds a new value every 5.5 going up the screen. So you can customize this to suit your needs to be whatever it is you want it to be. And on our category axis, we actually have this set up. We've customized it, and we have set this up to be rotated. You can define the angle that you want to rotate it, and the labels are going to be between the actual tick marks. It's not going to be on a tick, it's going to be between a tick. So if you look at the sample, we have January is in this whole space here, and then February is the next one. So this is the actual value, is a tick mark here, but it's displayed this way. That comes in handy for people that want to show sections of their data. And that's so that's one of the biggest things, the questions that we've had is how to actually customize your axis labels, how they look, how they feel, how they act, those all kinds of things. And I think I've just about hit my time limit, so I'm going to go ahead and call the talking portion of this done and hand everything back to Whitney. Whitney, are you ready?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. And thanks for that great presentation. Really appreciate it. So just a quick summary. These are the charts that we looked at today. We had the radar chart, a range area chart, a pyramid, a stacked area chart, the 100% stacked column, the multiple axis column, the candle, the standard column, the donut, and the spline. But those are our charts for today. Before we get into the Q&A, I hope you don't mind if I mention our community license. So for smaller companies with revenue under $1 million, all Syncfusion products are available for free. So all those charts you've just seen, that's all available for free. That includes all of the controls in Essential Studio as well as the enterprise solutions. So we do have plenty of customers who have built up their businesses starting on the community license, and we're always happy when more developers join our community. For those who don't qualify for the community license, we do have an unlimited global license. So the global license is a flat fee license which eliminates compliance and licensing headaches by making sure everyone who needs a license has one. And that can include third parties and contractors. There are no surprise fees with the global license, and you pay just the one flat fee that covers everything. So you can focus on your projects instead of worrying about paying for headcount or maintenance or runtimes and all those other things. So if you'd like more information about that, please do go visit us at syncfusion.com. I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming in and for watching this webinar today. We do hope that you enjoyed it and hope that you watch your email inboxes for a link to the recording. Thanks again for your time and interest. We really appreciate all those questions and your engagement, and we appreciate anyone who's a customer with us or anyone who's thinking of becoming a customer. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.